I'm in here, but what does it really mean? It means that basically you heard me say, are you in there? And you inside thought about something. Were you aware of those thoughts? Were you aware of the sound that my voice made coming in? And that's the essence of all spirituality, is who is in there? Not are you in there? Obviously you're in there. Who's in there? And where are you in there? Are you in your mind? Are you in your heart? Are you in your body? Where are you? And that is the entire exploration of that course from beginning to end, which is finding out, it's called self-realization, finding out the nature of the one who's in there. Because the one who is in there, the consciousness, the awareness of being, is the highest that ever walked the face of the earth. It's the essence of all spirituality. It's what it means when it says man is created in the image of God. Doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not, you're in there. That you know, all right? That's all you have to know. The rest goes up from there.
No, I think for many people, when they look inside, it's hard to disentangle from our thinking. Like, I got a lot of thoughts going on. Is that what you mean? No, that's not what you're pointing to.
Well, but I'm glad. Every single thing that you're aware of going on in there is your teacher, and it is spiritual. So you just said you have a lot of thoughts going on in there. My question to you is, how do you know? Just quietly, not being insulting. How do you know that you have a lot of thoughts going on in there? At first, it's frustrating. And eventually you'll look at me and say, because I'm in here and I see them. Thank you. That's the you I'm talking about. The one that's in there noticing the thoughts. Does your heart ever hurt? Does it ever feel love? How do you know? How do you know? Okay. I always tell people, you don't want me as a therapist. I don't do one-on-one with people. Why? They don't want to. I promise you. If you came to me and said, oh my God, my boyfriend or girlfriend left and I'm having so much trouble and so on, I'll listen a little bit, not too much. And then I'll ask, how do you know? And that's not, you're not supposed to ask that question. You're supposed to ask, what does it feel like and what happened? No, I just ask, how do you know that you feel pain in your heart? How do you know that you're having trouble with this? And again, frustratingly, you will eventually have to say to me, listen, I'm in here. I know what it's like to be in here. I see what the heart feels like. I see what my mind is going through. Okay, I want to know who you are that sees that much more than I want to know what it is that you see.
Now, I have to ask you a question, Michael, right here at this point, that has been a huge source of fuel for me on the spiritual journey. And it has to do with this who that's in there. People will say, well, who were you when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, 30? That you inside that is aware of all the things that are happening in your life. And I don't think it's that hard for people to track that. I can track that. I can sense that inner witness that witnessed my life when I was little and saw all the things that were going on and up to this time. But the question I have is, if I go backwards, I can see that awareness at age 5, but then as I get younger and younger, I start to lose track. And I don't know what that was before I was born. And I don't know if that will continue after I die. And so this promise of spirituality, you'll get to know the who inside. I'm like, okay, I kind of know that who while I'm alive, but I don't know what it will be like when I'm not alive. So I want to know what you have to say to that.
I'm glad you don't know, and I'm glad you admit that you don't know, because the truth is almost nobody knows. Like, they believe, and I don't participate in that game. I don't want to just be another person who tells you to believe something. This is what I'll tell you, and I know I'm right. You'll find out. That's as far as you should go with, I don't know whether I'll be there after I die. I guarantee you will find out. And if you're not there, it won't be a problem. It's not like, I'm not here. Oh my God, I don't like this. No, you're not there. If you are there, which by the way, you will be, but I didn't say that. Okay. You'll find out what it's like to be there and not have a body and what's going on and where am I? Why think about it now? Live your life now. Be here now, right? You'll have that experience then. The fact that you didn't know what you were like before you dropped down, every master teaches really the same truth, which is when you drop, you're going to understand it like this. When you drop into the body, when the consciousness drops into the body, that is a traumatic experience, okay? all of a sudden there's all these sensations and all this sound and all these sights and all these feelings and things. It's freaky, okay? The consciousness totally freaks out. And so it's lost. It's called the lost consciousness. It's not like now, I don't care if you think you have problems. You don't have problems compared to someone who has amnesia and just woke up from amnesia and doesn't know who they are or where they were. You understand that? That's like a panic type of a state. That's what happens when consciousness drops into the body. It's disoriented completely. It doesn't, and so what it does is start grabbing. We just call it clinging. It starts grabbing to mommy, to crib, to blankie, to toy, to, you understand that? It just grabs anything that's steady that it can get its hands on, and it starts to build some solidity inside. It's not really solid. It's just thoughts, it's experiences, but they're firm, they're regular. Always put the baby in the same crib. Don't do the experiment. What happens if I put a baby in a different crib every night and a different mother picks them up? Because every psychologist will tell you that's out of the question, right? Because the self, the conscious is going through this experience of trying to ground, of trying to settle. Okay, I know who I am. I am this person's child. I am the owner of this crib. I am the one who has this blankie. Okay, so you develop a self-concept, and that gives you a sense of stability. And then you keep that throughout your entire life. So the fact that you don't remember what your consciousness was like before you did all that is completely understandable. Great masters say they do. It's none of my business. Okay, Yogananda said he was totally conscious in the womb, and they know where they were before. Okay, so it's nice that somebody says that, but I don't want you to say that. I want you to be real. And what real is, there was a tumultuous period until you started to build this self-concept. And all psychology will tell you that. You built a concept of yourself, and then the consciousness rested on that and said, at least now I know who I am. I'm the person who lives here. I'm the person that has this, and mother, daddy, this and that, right? And you've done that through your whole life. I'm the person that married so-and-so. I'm the person that got divorced. That's not who you are. Those are the experiences you've had. I'm not denying the experiences, right? But you're collecting experience you had and then saying, that's who I am. No, you're the one that had the experience. So that's my level. I don't want to add to the belief structure that you're supposed to believe something about what happens when you die or believe something of where you were before you were born. To me, it's irrelevant. It should not be an important thing in your life. What should be important is finding out who's in there, and why do they keep getting pulled down into the thoughts and down into the emotions and down into what's tiniest little things happen in the world. You know, I talk about the driver in front of you freaking out the way they're driving. Every little thing pulls your consciousness down into it. I'm interested in why and what can you do about that, and what are you capable of experiencing right now inside yourself? Because the truth is, it's so high, it's not even discussable what you're capable of experiencing.
All right, let's talk about why. Why I'm in this, you call it the human predicament, that I
Yes,
keep getting pulled into all of these disturbances.
yes. Well, I love that you use the word I would like to call them distractions instead of disturbances, okay? You know what it's like to get distracted. We get distracted all the time. You're doing something, and then something else catches your attention, correct? That's what has happened in here. You are being distracted by your thoughts, okay? You're being distracted by your emotions. You're being distracted what's coming in by your senses. Consciousness is so distracted by these things that it literally identifies with them. It says, that's who I am, because that's where I'm hanging out. I tell people, if I were to stare at a point, let's say the tile on the floor, if all I did was stare at the tile on the floor, that's my world. Because my world is what I'm conscious of, right? Okay. And so if I focus completely on something narrow like that, then I've narrowed my consciousness. I tell everybody, in the 60s, we talk about expanding consciousness. I would never use that term anymore. The term is stop constricting and contracting your consciousness. Your consciousness is already fully expanded. My consciousness can see this whole room, but if I focus on just a point on the floor, then that's all I'm conscious of. So what we're doing is getting distracted by our thoughts, distracted by our emotions, distracted by what's coming in through our senses. That's a very small part of the universe. to say the least, right? It's like 3 feet by 5 feet high or 6 feet high. That's it. It's just a point on the planet Earth. And my favorite saying, 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. 1.3 million. And how much space do you take up on the Earth? And your consciousness is constantly drawn down to being distracted and focusing on these thoughts, your emotions, and what's coming in through your senses. That's minuscule compared to what's going on everywhere. Okay? And that's why you get caught down there. That's our predicament. That's the human predicament, which is what? Consciousness, which I assure you is capable of experiencing much more than just staring at yourself. It doesn't have to stare at yourself. If I don't stare at the point in the floor, what do I see? Everything else. If you don't stare at yourself, what do you see? Everything else. And that's the great spiritual state, which you're perfectly capable, everyone's perfectly able of experiencing that. But the question is how to not be distracted by our thoughts, how to not be distracted by our emotions. More importantly, I don't like to play how to not. Why are we so distracted by our thoughts? How many thoughts do we have? How many of your thoughts are meaningless? How many thoughts end up being you were stupid to think it, right? It just didn't turn out to be real. It didn't turn out to be a problem. Didn't turn out to, the person wasn't really thinking what you thought they were thinking. You were just in a bad mood. You understand that? A lot of our thoughts, the vast majority of our thoughts, we'd be better off if we didn't have them. They're just distracting our consciousness from work, from relationships, and so on and so forth. So the question is, why are you so distracted by your thoughts? And until you learn to not be distracted by your thoughts, you're going to be distracted by your thoughts. Why are you so distracted by your emotions? Until you learn not to be, you're going to be pulled down into your emotions. So that's the foundation, to me, that's the foundation of spirituality. It's not all these techniques and clothes and different things, which is all wonderful, right? But it's the reality of, do you know what's going on in there? You're a conscious being that's being distracted by your thoughts. And so we can go into a discussion as to why are you so distracted by your thoughts? I'm not distracted by your thoughts. Okay? You are, but I'm not. You understand that?
Right.
Okay?
I do. I think one of the questions that comes up for me is how do I appreciate and respect the content of thoughts and emotions without being, to use your word, distracted by them and, put into a very limited place, but yet I want to appreciate them.
Yeah. Well, that's when you get into why are you so distracted? And first you're going to find out you're not distracted by all your thoughts. You drive by a car, drive by a tree, thought says, oh, there's a tree. You don't cling to it. You don't hold on to it. You're not thinking about it the next moment. It comes in and it goes through. But you are distracted by the ones that hurt you, and you are distracted by the ones that turn you on. Okay? You really put all your attention there, don't you? Okay? And then you not only put your attention there when it's happening, and this is the part that's just unbelievable, but you put your attention there after it happened. The event already came in. Somebody said something mean to you, or not nice, insulting. Okay? You took it that way anyways. So this got said, it came in. They didn't stand there and sit in your face for 20 minutes or 5 hours or a day and keep saying the same thing to you. They said it to you, and then it stopped happening. So you got distracted by when it happened. That's understandable. But why would you keep it? Why don't you let it pass through and then experience the next moment? There's Ram Dass Be Here Now. Okay? Because it is so uncomfortable to you, you didn't want to have the experience. That's what it comes down to. I didn't want to have this experience. And in the name of not wanting to have the experience, I'm resisting the experience. Now we're starting to get into surrender, right? I'm resisting. You know what I mean by that? I have hands in there, don't I? I can push things around. I can hold on to things. Okay? I used my will. Those are the hands of will to push the experience away. Did it actually put the experience away? No, the experience actually happened. I can't touch the experience. It came and it went. Okay? It will never not have happened. It's reality. But I don't have to fully experience it inside. When it comes in, it has all this power and energy and, so on. I can sit there and say, no, I don't want to experience this. Which is silly because you did experience it, but I don't want to experience this. I can't handle this. I don't want to experience this. So you push it away. And when you do, it stays in there. Why? Because you kept it in there. You pushed it away. You didn't let it pass through. You did it. I always tell people, there is nothing solid inside of you. There's no super glue. There's no concrete. There's nothing. It's empty. It's pure. It's etheric. Okay? Thoughts are etheric. They just come and they go. They pass like air, thinner than ether. Okay? But if you put resistance, the will of resistance, the power of will against them, they can't pass through you. You have great power. They say you have willpower. You have free will. You do. And you have the power to push that energy that came into you and hold it so that it acts like it's solid. It stays. Like I learned a long time ago that the only way that energy can stay in one place is to circle around itself. Energy has to move. That's its nature. It's waves, right? It's not solid. So if it's moving, how do I have it move and stay stationary? You have it circle around itself. And that's what we call a samskara. That's what a pattern, a blockage is inside of you, is you've resisted the energy of the experience. Again, you didn't resist the experience because it already happened, came and went. Okay, but the effect, the energy, the inner experience of the outer experience came in, you pushed your will against it, it couldn't pass, so it started doing this. And that's a karmic seed, that's a samskara, that is a blockage, okay? And that will stay inside of you until you let it go. Psychology says, like Freud, all he talked about, and your mother, what did she do, right? It's like, it'll be in her whole life, your whole life. If you blank away too soon, you couldn't handle it, it will be in there until you let it go. Okay? So by pushing these things down and holding on to them, especially the ones you didn't like, but ones you really did like, you also hold on to those, not by resisting them, by clinging to them. In other words, you said you love me. It made me feel so good. I've never felt so good again. Can you stay for a while? No, you have to go to work. I can't wait till you come back. I will think about nothing but you for the rest of the day. Okay? I clung to the experience. I want to have it again. I don't want it to go away. The other one, I don't want to experience it. This one, I do want to experience it. Both of those, that's called positive and negative samskaras. Both of those stay inside of you. Why? Because you didn't let them go. Okay? You held on to them. So you built up this warehouse, especially negative ones. You have not had that many positive experiences. We don't let ourselves. But basically, we hold on to them. We build them inside. They come back up by themselves. Somebody else who looks like somebody who bothered you, their hair looks like it, their glasses look like it, it bothers you, right? We now are a walking target of things to come in and hit the stuff that we stored inside. That's why your thoughts draw you into them. They are like the most important, you selected the most important things in the universe, the experiences that bothered you the most.
So what would complete experience look like? Something happens and it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. What would it mean to completely go through it? I'm not denying that it's happening. It's very uncomfortable. It's
Yes.
out, super ouch. What is the complete metabolizing or working through so that there's no residue left?
That's beautiful. I'll go to the extremes to start with. There was a great saint, some of you know his name, Sri Ramakrishna. Very, very, very great. One of the great ones of all time, all right? Very high being, fully enlightened. They once asked him, Ramakrishna, Master, does an enlightened being ever feel anger? And I was shocked to hear his answer. He said, yes. Oh, he said, but it's like riding on water. It's okay if you ride on water, it's gone. The minute the finger passes by, you can ride, and no matter what you rode, does it? Because it's not going to be there. That's what a great being, what does a great being mean? They're completely open. The experience came in, it did cause discomfort. It did cause a sense of jealousy or anger or fear or insecurity. It did. That's what he's saying to you. It did, right? It came up and it passed. Nobody stopped it. Nobody pushed it away. Nobody said, I don't want to experience this. There was a complete acceptance, surrender to the reality of the experience, so much so that it passed through. Now, most of us are not able to do that. In fact, very few of us are able to do that. Although, to be honest, there are things that bother you a lot that didn't bother the person who was standing next to you. Right or wrong, okay?
For sure, yes,
so
yeah.
It is true that we're doing it. We're resisting. So what a real thorough experience feels like is non-resistance. It doesn't mean you didn't feel it. It doesn't mean it didn't have an effect, right? But you didn't stop the effect from passing through. So let's take a positive effect. The one I always use is you're driving down the street, you got a little stuff going on in your mind, but no big deal. You're doing okay. And you turn the corner and OMG, the sun is setting. It's brilliant pastel colors, purple, everything, right? It catches you by total surprise. You're stunned. You hear me? It blew your mind. I like that. It came in and it touched you at the deepest possible level. When you explain it to people, you say, it was unbelievable. I can't explain it. It felt like I was in the presence of God. You understand that? That's how deep it touched you. It touched, here's another one. It touched me to the core of my being. Ever use that expression? It touched me to the, no, we're talking, that's spiritual. In other words, it came all the way in. There was no resistance. It poured like a river falls into the ocean. This experience came and poured into my soul. It poured into my consciousness. Nobody resisted at all. Where did it go? It became part of me, right? I fully experienced the experience. Okay, so, but we don't do that. Why? Because we either cling or resist. If we're not comfortable with it, we're not evolved enough yet to be able to let it go. So we ask questions like, well, really what you ask is, what do I do if I can't let it go? Because if you can let it go, let it go. It comes in and passes through. Yeah, he was in a bad mood. Look what he said. Who cares? It's all right. We'll be fine tomorrow. That's nice, right? You can be that sometimes, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes it was disturbing enough to where you resisted, okay? And that resistance is instinctual, but you can learn, like if you're teaching your child, you may not, but if you're teaching your child to play baseball and he's playing shortstop, when they're young, when that ball bounces, they will always turn their head away. You understand that? It's like to protect themselves. Well, you can't play that way. So you have to learn to be comfortable that, okay, sometimes the ball will hit you, but if you want to play ball, you got to keep your eye on the ball and you can't turn your head away. Imagine working with a child to teach them to do that. This is exactly the same. The natural instinct is to turn away, is to push it away. I don't want to feel this. You don't have to think that. It's instinctual. You push it away because it's not comfortable. You have to learn, just like the child who's learning to feel the ball, to not turn your head. That I learned to be there. It's not comfortable, but I have my eye on the ball and let it go. Don't react as resistance. Let it go. Let it go. All right? So that's why we don't do it, because we haven't learned to do it. And nobody taught us to do it. You know what they taught us to do, Cami? They taught us to make sure it doesn't happen. That's what they taught us. How to win friends and influence people. How to be empowered and make sure that everybody's the way you want them to be. Okay, how to have a relationship. That's a work in process. People use that term. How's your relationship? It's a work in process. What does that mean? I'm training the person to be the way I need them to be so they don't bother me. Okay, I'm controlling the outside because I can't handle the inside. Okay, that's what almost everybody does. And that's what they do. Right? A spiritual person says, I don't want to do that the rest of my life, fight every moment, that every person, every moment that falls in front of me and be afraid that they're going to do something that bothers me. I'm not interested in that. And I don't want to be rich enough to buy them off. And I don't want to be powerful enough to, how dare you, or anything like that. I want to be free. I want to be free from all that. So how do I do that? I learn to not resist. I learn to not turn my head. I learn that just because it's not comfortable doesn't mean it's not beautiful. It doesn't mean it doesn't have its purpose. Everything has its purpose. Am I willing to let it pass through? Let it go all the way back to God, find its way through me, and then it's finished. You asked me the question, can it be finished? Yes. When you stop resisting it, it will be finished. It will come up. But when it comes up, you resist it again. You understand that? Okay? Or you do things like, I call that kind of playing with it a little bit. You sit there and say, well, I wasn't comfortable with this. I don't like what he said. Maybe I should talk to him about it. All right? Maybe he'll apologize. Or maybe I'll be very spiritual and I'll apologize. I'll tell him, it probably was part of my fault. Anything I can do to work it out, take the power off of it, neutralize it. You understand that? Which is not a bad thing to do. Okay? But it's not the same as surrender. It's not the same as I'm here on a tiny little planet, spinning around the middle of frickin' nowheres. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and there's 300 billion suns in your galaxy, and there's 2 trillion galaxies. And you're having a problem with what? With what somebody said, with the driver in front of you, with the fact that someone loved you and then they left. I understand there's a human side, right? Can you handle that side? Can you be comfortable? If you're playing a sport, sometimes you get a bruise. You don't go running home. You play through it. Are you willing to at least work on learning how to be here, appreciate every moment of your life? I don't want you to appreciate just the good moments. I don't want you to attract to yourself what you want. Okay? Getting what you want is totally oversold. I want you to learn to honor and respect and love all of life, all of it, the yin, the yang. It's all creation. It's unbelievable. When you are willing to be that open, you will find a Shakti flow inside of you that never stops. It just pours inside of you, feeds you all the time. So Christ meant by man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. In other words, you're not living off the events outside. You're feeling this Shakti flow, this spirit flow, rushing up inside of you all the time, feeding you. You're capable of that, but you have to be truly willing to not store this stuff inside of you. And the only way you can do that is realizing I'm storing it in here. There's nobody else in here doing it. You understand that? There's nobody in there but you. I call it a single occupancy apartment. You're the only one in there, aren't you? Okay? Then anything going on in there is you. So yes, it's possible to be completely clean. And that's the spiritual path. Purification, cleansing, opening, releasing. Okay? And the more you're able to do that, the more you will feel this spiritual energy pouring up inside of you, feeding you. And then eventually you won't need to resist anything because you'll be fine. One of the great saints that I had the honor of meeting once turned to me and she said, Mickey, don't you just love when they yell at you? There's so much energy. I love it. Am I answering you? You get it?
You are. And I do have a further question here. I also want to invite everyone who's joining us on the Sounds True One platform. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A box, and they're going to be fed to me here on a Google Sheet, and I'll try to incorporate as many as we can. Now, Michael, a word I don't hear you use often is trauma. And I think a lot of people will say XYZ event happened and it's a trauma trigger. It's a trigger. Yeah. And now my trauma's here. And are you asking me to completely metabolize this traumatic event on the spot as this trigger came in? Like what? How am I going to do that? This is my trauma.
That's right. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful question. I'm a realist. Of course I'm going to ask you that. I am asking you to understand that the reason it was traumatic is you resisted it. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that because they want to say, of course I resisted it. Anybody would resist it. That's fine, okay? I think that's what Christ showed us. Forgive them, Lord, for they don't know what they do, right? Not my will, but thy will. That just the ultimate, that it is possible to sit there and say, you can go through experiences that are terrible, and if you don't resist them, they're not traumatic. But I understand things are difficult to do that with. So I'm not saying, that's the answer to trauma. Just let it go. That's ridiculous because you don't know how to let it go. You would have let it go if you could have. They're saying that. Nobody wants that inside of them, right? It kind of happened automatically. The resistance, the same thing as the kid turning his head on the baseball, right? It's a natural instinct. This is terrible. I can't handle it. You're not even thinking it. You just, bam, everything inside of you resists it. And then it gets locked inside of you for the rest of your life. People have trouble with that. So you know what I teach. And I've been doing this 50 years, okay, is you don't try to work with it at that level. When you're drowning, that's not when you learn how to swim. You got to learn how to swim earlier so that you don't drown. You understand that? There are things you can do in your everyday life. And this is what I ask, okay? There are things you can do in your everyday life, simple things. Like you complain about the weather. It's so hot. Oh my God, I can't even handle it. You don't need to do that. It didn't help anything. It doesn't change the heat. It doesn't change anything, right? It just is a habitual state of turning your head when the ball bounces. It's the same thing. Use the same analogy, all right? Is that basically you're in the habit that if you don't like something, to resist it. So now you're resisting the weather. You're resisting the driver in front of you. Okay, they're driving too slow. They didn't use their blinker. You don't have to do that. You can train yourself with these simpler things to say, I don't want to keep the habit of resisting all of life and then getting all upset over stupid little things. And so you start the new book, and the course also, both of them work very deeply on things you can do every moment of every day of your life that will train you so that you learn to let go of these meaningless, I call them low-hanging fruit, these meaningless, disturbing experiences that it doesn't do anything to resist them. You're just causing trouble for yourself, okay? Learn to let those go. Practice. I practice the piano or practice a sport. You know, just walk in and play the Williams sisters, all right? Or Borg. You sit there and have a little coach hit you a ball or a ball thrower, and you try different angles. Okay? It's the same thing with spirituality. You don't just sit there and say, I should be able to handle trauma. I should be able to handle my wife left me. I should be able to handle my so-and-so died. Okay? No. There's these human reactions, and you're not going to do very well with them as an instinctual level. But you can do well with these easier things. Okay? Like I tell people, I'm very much into, as you noticed, into astronomy, right? That God is big. It's so big, it blows my mind. I love to think about it. Okay? So let's say it's hot out and you're being bothered by the sun. You're complaining and everything inside you is complaining about the sun. I remember the time I trained him, he who lives in here. Why are you hot? I'm hot. It's hot. Why is it hot? Because the sun is in the sky. Okay, well, is it really a sun or is it a star? Wow, it's a star. Who doesn't like stars? Everyone likes stars. They're romantic, they're beautiful, they twinkle, right? So you're close enough to a star that's 93 million miles away to feel its heat. All of a sudden, it's interesting. All of a sudden, it's not complaining. It's like, wow, if I live in Gainesville, Florida, Miami's 250, 300 miles away. If all of Miami caught fire, I wouldn't feel it up here. That sun is 93 million miles away. And I feel its heat so much. All of a sudden, it's exciting. And you start having fun with yourself. You raise yourself. You raise it with your thoughts, with a mantra, with witness consciousness. I don't care. But don't let those moments go by that are practice. You're practicing letting go. You're practicing being okay, respecting, honoring, loving aspects of life. Do that with everything. Now, the next thing that comes up that's bigger, you're going to find out you do better with it. Just like if you play your scales, you can play Twinkle Twinkle, and eventually you'll play Beethoven. Okay? It's exactly, that to me is where spirituality is, where the rubber hits the road on the everyday experiences that aren't traumatic. Certainly people can say to me, but what if so-and-so? You're right. There are terrible things that happen, right? But they're not everybody all the time. If you will practice being okay, if you will practice raising yourself, the Bhagavad Gita has a line in it that I love. One should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. It's talking about your higher self, your consciousness, raising yourself, raising the lower self, not trying to get what it wants so that it doesn't bother you. You raise it up, bring it up to you. If you will do that every moment of your life on a regular basis, wait till you see how you change. It changes everything. And then all of a sudden, things that would have been traumatic, you're able to handle better. And if you couldn't handle it right away, you get some distance shortly thereafter. And you say, do I want to keep this inside of me? I know it was terrible. It was terrible. No question it's terrible. It's not fair. It's not just. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, do you want that running your life for the rest of your life? Because I don't. Do you understand that? And you start working with yourself and raising yourself.
We have a question here. Lisa writes in, what's the best method to release what we're resisting? We discover we're resisting something. How do we release it?
I have found that the best method to releasing what's being resisted is relaxation. I've learned that relaxing is the antithesis of resistance. That when you're resisting, you can't relax because your muscles and your mind and everything inside of you gets tense because it's resisting. But when you relax, you can't resist. So can you relax when it comes up? Not try to do something or neutralize. You can do whatever you want, and it's fine. People teach all kinds of things. And that's wonderful. To me, if anybody's doing anything for the purpose of raising themselves, I love it. Okay. But if you will just, when it comes up, you'll see a tendency to resist. Relax. Okay. Relax. Relax your shoulders, relax your tummy, relax your buttocks, relax. Then relax inside. There are hands in there. They push, they cling, they do things. Relax them. People say to me, but I got divorced and it keeps coming back up and I can't make it relax. I didn't ask it to relax. I asked you to relax. You who noticed that this is coming back up and you say, what do I do about this? Relax. Relax the self. Relax the consciousness. Relax the interaction between the consciousness and the object of consciousness. So you're not trying to make the object of consciousness relax. It needs to be what it is. It has its nature. It was a bad divorce. It was somebody died. This and you're scared. Whatever it is, fear. You know, people say to me, how do I not be afraid? You don't make fear not be afraid. Fear's nature, Buddhists say, respect the nature of things. Fear's nature is fear. It's not about its nature not being fear. It's about you relaxing in the face of its nature. Okay? And the same thing with jealousy, and the same thing with insecurity, and the same thing with any of this stuff. There's nothing wrong with those things. They're things in the universe. Okay? If you go get into them, they'll run your life. If you resist them, they'll run your life. Only through relaxing around them and honoring their right to exist. So here's this thing that hurts you. It happened a while ago. Is it okay with you that's in there? You better say yes. Why? Because it is in there, right? Do you want to leave it in there? No. I want to give it the room to come up. But you can't do that when you're resisting. But I tend to resist. Just little by little relax. And if you'll learn to relax with the driver in front of you, learn to relax with the weather, learn to relax with all these other things, you will have practiced relaxing. People write me from all over the world all the time saying it changed my life. What changed your life? The fact that I learned not to resist this stuff, to just relax more. Now something bigger came up and I'm having trouble handling it. Fine. But all that stuff in between is good training. And so if you will just be willing to relax in the face of it, we try to push it away or touch it or change its nature or do things like that, which is all fine. Anything, the only thing that's not fine is suppression. And psychology, that's where psychology is right. Suppression is the worst thing you can do with something inside because you're pushing it back down and then say, I handled it. No, you did not handle it. It's still there and it's still going to come back up. It's like a virus. It starts to eat away at all your other thoughts and all your other feelings. You do not want to suppress. Okay? So that basically, what do I do if I'm not suppressing? Relax. When it comes up, relax. I don't know how to say it more than that. Just dare to relax in the face of the wind. There are people who can't handle the wind. Okay? They resist it. My hair is getting messed up, right? No, relax. It feels good. It feels good. It feels good to let this pass through you. But people massage, they all are into massage. All New Age people are into massage, okay? What happens when the masseuse hits a spot that hurts? You don't hit them. You don't jump off the table. You know what you say? There, right there. Oh my God, yes, right there, don't you? Okay? That's what I want you to do inside. That's all I want you to do inside, exactly that. Oh my God, there it is. That's the thing that's been bothering me for 10 years. There it is, right there. Come on up. Welcome, you're welcome here. You're welcome here. Come on up. Oh, I love that. Okay, there's my answer to her.
Now, Michael, you're really clear that the way that you teach surrender is not about suppression. You're very, very clear about that. So we could say it's not about bypassing at all.
That's right.
It's about letting it surface and move through. But what I notice, and I think other people may be noticing this as well, is that when I practice just like letting go of something in my past, there's a subtle kind of kicking it out. I don't know how else to say it. Like, okay, I'm letting it go. And I am kind of like saying, get out of here.
That's right.
But yet, is that sort of a kind of suppression in a way? Because I'm not really feeling through it. I'm saying, get out of here.
That's right. So I don't teach that. Right? I don't teach that that's what you do. What I teach, I'll tell you what I teach shocks me that people come back to listen to more because it is the exact opposite of anything they want to hear. You are right. That's how you try, get out of here, get out of my way. You can't really let something go if you don't like it. You can't. What you'll do is cope with it. You'll, marginalize it, but I didn't like what you said to me. I'm serious. I didn't like what you said to me. I can't handle that. I was insulted. That disturbed me, but I'll forgive you. No, that's not deep enough. As long as you don't like it, you're not going to let it go. That's the deepest teaching I can give you. If you're scared of it, or you don't like it, or you think it was wrong, you're not going to let it go. You let it go a little bit, like you talked about. Okay, I don't want this inside of me. Try to throw it away. You literally have to get to the point of saying, I don't have the right to not like it. Okay? It's an event that took place in reality. I need to learn to honor its right to exist. I need to honor the right that this happened to me, and I want to grow with it. I want to welcome it. I want to let it pass, but I won't do that if I hate it. I won't do that if it scares the hell out of me. Okay? So you start working with it to say, my past is a gift that was given to me. Every single minute of it. Nobody has ever had the past that you've had. Nobody that ever lived, and nobody that ever will live. Do you understand that? You're getting a unique view of the universe every moment. A moment is unfolding in front of you, is not unfolding in front of somebody else. And then the next moment is different. Everybody's having different experiences. No one ever had the experience you did. You're unique. You're special. That's how you have to look at it. I want you to get to the point where you can look back and say, every single thing that ever happened to me, I love. It's a gift. It's what happened to me when I dropped down on the planet. I was born, like you say, you didn't know before. I'm going to die. And these are the experiences that were given to me, and they were meant for my growth. They were meant for me. It doesn't mean they're pleasant. It doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they're fair. It doesn't mean it's just. Do you understand that? Nobody said anything. That's human talk. Reality is really big. Okay. The other day I read an article that they found a black hole. I think it was, 5 billion light years away. That was 13 billion suns large. Things like that exist in our universe. Whoa. Okay. Open up. Appreciate the fact that you didn't land on that black hole. You land on this beautiful planet, so unique, with plants and colors and people and events that happen that you have the right to go through and to learn how to go through. It's all here for your growth. But nobody said fair. Nobody said just. Nobody said good, right, wrong. Just reality. It's reality. Can you handle reality? And when you're growing, you say yes. I have no right not to. I ask people, is it okay with you, Tammy, that Saturn has rings? You should look at me like it's a crazy question, because it's none of your business, right? Is it okay with you that the events are unfolding that are the reality of all the previous events that caused them to be that way? Okay, somebody was mean, somebody robbed you, somebody did something for whatever reason. First, honor, accept, appreciate that you had this experience, and I've grown enough to be able to handle it. I'm not going to suppress it. Okay, I'm going to welcome it. See, that's where I'm at. You welcome it inside of you. And if you can't do it, learn to do it. Because the only way you're going to let it go is if you honor and respect it and expect its right to exist. And okay, I made it through it. Wonderful. I grew. Thank God. I wouldn't change a single thing, not one single thing that happened in my life. And that's why, because I can't change it anyways. So my choice is acceptance or resistance. You hear me? Acceptance lets me be free. I'm free. You be open. You can feel tremendous energy going on inside. Resistance keeps you from being free. So there's your choice. There's no philosophy here, is it? It's like, are you willing to change your attitude about the experiences you had and are having and will have in your life? To sit there and say, bring it on. I'm an open being. This is going to be fun. And if it challenges me, good. I want to grow. I want to grow. Growth means change. I don't want things to be the way I want. You're not trying to get everything so it fits where you are now, because then you won't change. Okay? You're willing to open up and respect and honor life. Now, it doesn't mean you don't do things to change, to help life. You first accept completely within yourself. You're whole, you're complete, you feel calm. Now help. Now see what you can do to raise what's passing in front of you. So it's not like you don't do anything. You just don't do it to protect yourself or do it to get something. You're not doing it for you anymore because you're okay. So That's far beyond spiritual bypassing.
Now, you said that none of us as children, or certainly most of us, weren't trained. We weren't taught how
That's right.
to have complete experience, especially of painful things. And as I'm feeling into it, what I'm sensing is how we have to have some kind of capacity to have this is just language that's coming, like clean pain, excruciating pain moving through us, something like that. We have to be able to have an intensity of experience move through us and some kind of capacity for that. And I'm wondering how you would language that. Like, we weren't trained as children, so teach us now. How do we go through those really
Right.
horrific things?
Yes, it's so beautiful. And people do ask me questions like you're doing. The answer is always the same. You're not going to play Mozart the minute you sit down at the piano. You are not going to be able to handle the torrents of rapids if you don't know how to swim. Okay? You need to start with the simple stuff and build the groundwork of being able to handle things that you're not comfortable with, like the sun, like the weather, like I want to go camping tomorrow and it's cloudy. You can't even handle that. You understand that? You're making, Oprah picked the favorite line of the new book, Living Untethered. She said her favorite line, because Oprah is very deep, her favorite line was, the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. The fact that it's cloudy out tonight, it's not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about it because you have other things in your mind, you have other thoughts and desires or fears. Okay? Work at that level. I beg you, work at that level, and you will find out that less and less is traumatic because you learned how to handle things that you're not comfortable with. Understand that? Right? I'm not saying to go out there and I don't want to use examples because people do all the examples. It's called tapasya, doing things that make yourself hurt or something like that just to learn how to handle hurt. No, don't worry. Life will take care of it. All you have to handle is the reality that's unfolding in front of you. And if you'll practice that every day, the tiniest thing, somebody said something you didn't like, somebody didn't say something you wanted to hear, this is silly. You can handle that. Learn to handle it. Learn to relax through it. And you're going to find out that less and less happens in life that you can't handle because you practice handling. But if you don't practice handling and you sit there and resist everything you don't like, you'll never be able to handle anything bigger. So that's how you handle it. I'm not going to answer, what do I do if all of a sudden some terrible thing happened that I can't handle? You do your best, right? But the best you can do is not to wait for that moment without building practice and learning how to let go, learning how to surrender, learning how to accept.
We have lots of questions coming in on this
Okay?
theme, Michael. How can you accept awful things like racism, war, sexual abuse?
You accept them because they're real. You accept them because you can't deny them. What are you going to do? Deny them? I'll deny them. There's no racism. Well, that's ridiculous. There is racism. All right. I'll hate it. Well, then you're going to bring more hate into the world. Okay. I'll fight it. Then you bring more anger and fight into the world. How about, yes, I understand people are racist. People are prejudiced. People, all kinds of things. Why? Because of the way they think in their minds, because of the way they process their past experiences, because of what they were taught. We're all different. Okay. So can you accept that people are like that? I better, because they are. So now that I can accept it and be at peace with it, is there something I can do about it? Not what can I do to make myself feel better because I don't want it to be there. What can I actually do as the person that everything fits inside of me? All right. So how can I find a harmony that I can bring forth into the world so the moments passing in front of me are better off because they pass before me because I'm at peace? The highest thing you can do is be at peace. Gandhi changed the world with peace. Martin Luther King changed the world with peace. Do you understand that? Okay? It's your ability to be at peace, your ability to be centered and clear. You now are the one that are more capable of handling the disturbed situation that exists in life. You're not denying that they're uncomfortable, not denying that they hurt people. Okay? You're just saying, if I can't handle them, I have no right to deal with them. People say, I can't handle this. If you can't handle it, you're the last person who should be dealing with it. You understand that? I can't handle water. Well, then we can't put you near water because she says I can't handle the sight of blood. That's what I use. I can't handle the sight of blood. But then I don't want you in a car accident when I had a car accident. Because you're not going to help me. Okay? You need to be able to handle things. Then you can work with them. Yes, I can handle this. Now, what can I do to help? That's my answer.
You mentioned, Michael, this energy, Shakti energy coming up. The more that the blockages aren't in our energy system, the more the Shakti flows. What's the relationship between this upward flow and us letting go of our samskaras, these blocking patterns?
Yogananda once said, there's a river of joy flowing inside of you all the time. Anyone who has practiced these deep teachings has found that river. Okay? It's beautiful. It's always trying to flow up. The Shakti is always trying to flow up. Always. In everybody. No matter what they've ever done, no matter how old they are, no matter how sick they are, no matter what it is always trying to flow up. That is the nature of that flow, is upward. Because we block things in that system, there's turmoil. Okay? And then we get distracted in our consciousness that isn't aware that that's inside of us. If you had beautiful love and beauty and God flowing inside of you, why would you not go there? Because you're distracted by the garbage. You're distracted by the stuff you stored in there, and you think, I need to go out and make the world be a certain way so I don't get disturbed by the stuff I stored inside. The spiritual path is the opposite. It doesn't renounce. It's not about renunciation in any way, shape, or form. Okay? It's about sitting there saying, there's beauty inside of me. I'm not going to give up the beauty. There's beauty inside of me. There's beauty of love inside of me, right? I need to get this stuff out of here so that it's not distracting my consciousness so much, so I can experience the natural flow that's inside of me. And you will find out when you start doing that, that everything you let go of, it's the smallest thing in the world. If your driver in front of you is driving a stupid way, 10 miles an hour below the speed limit, or not using blinkers or swerving, okay, and you're getting upset about it, then you're not feeling the Shakti. If you think it's funny, then just sit there and just stay back a little bit and let him or her drive the way they drive, and 3 blocks later they turn, your Shakti is still flowing. You choose whether you're choosing this beautiful flow of God, this beautiful flow of Shakti, or whether you want to get involved with the garbage that you're disturbing yourself about inside. Every time you'll learn, let go, let go, let go. What's the word? Christians say it, let go and let God. I wish they knew what that meant. All right? Let go of yourself, and you will feel the experience of the beauty that's inside of you. Christ, remember, I love a nice Jewish yogi, and I love Christ's teachings. Okay? And Christ, when he was in the garden, he sat there and said, may I pass this cup? I mean, who wants to go through that? He was psychic. He saw the whole thing. I don't want to go through that. Can I pass the cup? And the moment he said that, he said, no, not my will, but thy will be done. In other words, I'm not going to go down to control and manipulate things that I can't handle. I'm going to stay with God. I'm not going to give up this energy flow. It's precious. It's beautiful. So that's what you find, is that the more you let go, but again, you're right. You can be an activist. You can be a very, very strong activist and be doing this. All right? I'm very close with a lot of people at the ACLU and heads of stuff. And we talk all the time. If you're centered and clear, you're better off dealing with things than if you're reactive and angry and etc. So you come in tune with that energy, and it will carry you. Once you get in tune with that energy, it's over. All right? And I might as well close. I always close my talks this way. We just talked about the energy's flowing nice, and it's nicer than your garbage inside. That's nothing. At some point, it gets so strong inside that it is actually like a vacuum cleaner. It's pulling you up into it. You feel it pulling you up. You can't even look at your thoughts. It just comes up to your third eye, to the top of your head, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And the great masters explored what would happen if I let it. What would happen? It's called die to be reborn. That's Christ. What would happen if I literally let go of my sense of individuality, that which tend to look, now I'm not just looking down, I'm being pulled up. And they are the ones who came back and told you what Christ said. My Father and I are one. That there's merger, there's union. The word yoga means union, merger. All right? That drop of consciousness that's busy looking down falls back into the ocean. Mayor Baba said, when I felt the first time that my drop of consciousness fell into the ocean, drop a drop of water into the ocean. Find it. You'll never find it. It emerges. So that's the great state of spirituality, great state of oneness. And this is the path, but knows where it started. It started with handling the driver in front of you. It started with handling that it was hot at you. It's handle that your boyfriend didn't say what you wanted to say. Every single thing. Practice letting go, and you'll be pulled up naturally.
Michael, every time I talk with you or read one of your books, it becomes more clarified, this path of surrender, what you call the highest spiritual path, and the work, the inner work that we're invited to do on that path. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Tammy. Very beautiful. I would love talking to you. You ask very deep, sincere questions.
Michael Singer, he's the author of a book that sounds true, co-published with New Harbinger, Living Untethered, Beyond the Human Predicament. And come join us for the 9.5-hour course with a special question and answer session with Michael as part of the course. We'll be exploring the program as a community beginning in September. Come to join.soundstrue.com to learn more. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being with us. Michael, thank you for your good, clear teaching. Thank you. Sounds true. Waking up the world. Thanks everyone.